What's up, everybody? So, I've had a number of people submit questions to me for my question and answer episodes of the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. If you have a question for me, by the way, you can feel free to leave it in the comments below down here, or send me an email, discgolfnerd1@gmail.com, and hit me up and let me know. Maybe I can answer it on a future episode, or I can just answer it in your comment below. I'm always happy to try my best to help you guys out with that stuff. But anyway, I've had a number of people ask me the same question or a similar question, and that question is, do the different plastic types a disc is available in change the way it flies? Like, does a Champion Thunderbird fly different than a Star, fly different than a DX, etc.? The answer is yes. There's not really a debate in this, and kind of the way the question was being posed to me a couple of times made it seem as though there was some question about this and that some people don't understand this concept. This video is not to belittle you if you don't understand this concept. I make these videos so that I can help you guys understand this stuff and kind of grow your knowledge base for disc golf. That's kind of what I try to do here. So no shame that you guys don't know this if you don't. But as far as myself, and I think any experienced player who's thrown a lot of discs knows, yes, the different plastic types absolutely will change the flight. They will affect the way the disc flies straight off the shelf. Now, the problem with this is that it's not consistent enough for me to tell you straight across the board, you know, this plastic is always the most overstable, this plastic is always the most understable. There's a ton of other factors that go into this as well. Certain runs of discs will fluctuate. It'll change from company to company. It will change from disc to disc. All that kind of stuff is it's a little bit too inconsistent for me to really just explain it across the board so that you guys know 100% how this works for each company. That would be far too difficult, and I don't know if I could really accurately represent that. But what I can do is kind of walk you through the different versions of the Compass from Latitude 64. It's a disc I have a lot of experience with. I have a bunch of different variations, and give you a little bit of context here just in terms of this one mold. But even if you don't get to that part of the video and you just turn it off right after I say this, the different plastic types will affect the flight of a disc. As far as I'm concerned, that is a fact. It is not a debate, and it is not it's not a question as far as I'm concerned. It definitely is a thing. I feel like if you ask anybody who manufactures discs or anybody who has a lot of experience throwing a lot of different discs, they will tell you the different plastic types do affect the stability and the flight patterns of a given disc. That's the key to this video and the whole reason I'm making it. But to give you guys a little bit more information, as I like to do, let's take a look at some of these different compasses. Plastic show and tell. That's how we do it here. Two-time retro burst compass, brand new on the market. I got this one to check it out, went straight in the bag. These hold any line straight off the shelf. Hold a turnover nicely, hold a soft hyzer, and they'll fly dead straight all the way. So these are beautiful, and a little bit of a flat top. The retro feel is fantastic. So grippy, so comfortable, just phenomenal feel in the hand. And these will also break in much faster. Another thing you guys have to just remember, of course, if you're a beginner, is that as a disc gets more broken in and it gets used and takes damage to the outer rim and the underside of the rim here, it will change the way it flies over time. The cheaper plastics will break in much faster and become more understable much quicker. So this one will definitely do that for me, and that's what I want. I want this to break in to be a nice hyzer flip dead straight compass, or one that'll hold a turnover start to finish really easily, and then I may put a fresh one back in the bag to cover me on different lines, because it just has a really, really nice, comfortable feel. So that's the baseline plastic. I'll also say the retro and the prime plastics from Latitude and DD in drivers tend to be pretty overstable when they start out. Like a Trespass, a prime Trespass is quite overstable when it starts out brand new. So take that for what it is. Again, this is a perfect example of how it fluctuates just from mid-ranges to drivers and putters to drivers and stuff like that. I have another video all about different putter plastics if you guys are interested in that as well. Moonshine plastic tends to be a little bit more overstable fresh off the shelf than the other plastics. So if you want a compass that's a little bit more stable, or like an EMAC Truth or something like that, you're looking for a more stable run, the Moonshine could be a great place for you to start. It is also just as durable and will hold up just as long as Lucid plastic. Very similar in feel, just a little bit more stable in general. Straight off the shelf. This is a gold line, and since it's nice and flat, and it's actually a little bit lighter weight. It's like 172. I remember this one being pretty stable compared to my Lucids as well. So fly really straight, have a little bit more fade to it. So I haven't thrown this one in a while. It's been a backup for me. Pretty cool. Zelda die, but I just haven't had it in the bag for a while. But a great disc. But that Goldline one in particular seemed to be a little bit more overstable. That's really the only Goldline compass, straight up Goldline compass I have experience with, so I can't really tell you too much on that one. Then we have the Opto Sparkle. This one definitely starts out more overstable than the straight up Opto plastic. In general, sparkly plastic or like Innova's Metal Flake plastic tends to be pretty overstable compared to other runs. Something like a Metal Flake Destroyer or like a Metal Flake Max or something like that. Crazy overstable. So yeah, keep that in mind for sure. Something about the way plastic flies when it has little specks of, I'm not sure if this is actually, metal per se, or if it's just like little sparkles or whatever for this particular one, but I do know that these tend to fly a little bit more overstable straight off the shelf. Another compass that will fly a little bit more overstable than a stock Lucid is the Goldline X. Now the new Lucid X and Opto X plastics from Dynamic Discs and Latitude 64 are definitely more overstable than their Lucid and Opto counterparts as well. Just keep that in mind. But this is a Goldline X. It's got a little bit more stiffness to the plastic and definitely starts out a little bit more overstable. So this is a really beautiful, slightly overstable kind of hyzer compass for me. So I like this one. If I want to throw it flat and have some fade to it, it doesn't ride right on me too much. Or if I want to throw it on a hyzer and have it hold that all the way. Then you have just a straight up stock Opto compass. This one is a little bit broken in, but these straight off the shelf just hold any line. They're super neutral. End up flying pretty similar to the Retro overall, maybe a touch more stable straight off the shelf, but as they break in like this one, this thing just holds any line I put it on. So there's just some basic examples with a disc that I have a lot of to show you, just to kind of illustrate the point. But the bottom line is, it definitely changes depending on the plastic type. If you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments below. If I have experience with a particular disc and the different plastics it's available in, I can do my best to try to help you out and understand what you're looking for, but I only have so much experience to draw upon. There are other places like different Facebook forums and stuff like that that you can get out there and kind of learn more about different types of discs, but you gotta take some of that stuff with a grain of salt because there's some goofy people out there who don't quite know what they're talking about. So if you're gonna do that, I would take everything with a little grain of salt. And also, if people are consistently saying the same thing, Metal Flake is the most overstable, you probably know it's right. If it's an outlier and it's one guy saying, "Oh, I have a G-Star Destroyer, that's the most overstable thing in the world," he might not know what he's talking about. Anyway, that's besides the point. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I'll check you later. Cheers.